Hello，大家好，又係我高 B 哥啊，係時間提醒大家飲水啦，增添智慧，增添水分，智慧如水啊！好啦，嚟到錄片時間，2022年嘅12月2號啊，晚上嘅11點幾啦。高 B 哥咧今日夜晚咧出咗去食飯，所以咧今晚咧冇時間做影片啊。咁啊翻嚟咧嘭嘭聲咧繼續咧整理埋咧網友咧分享俾我嗰3段影片，係關於咧馬凱碩嘅。咁所以咧我就做成咗3部曲啊。咁啊，第一集咧出咗之後咧，我見到你哋嘅回應啊，好評如潮喎，好多人咧都睇咗之後咧就話哇好正啊，仲有冇其他？我期待緊下一集咁樣成。咁啊，有好多人咧都睇過馬凱碩嘅影片啦，咁啊，甚至乎咧呢2-3條影片可能你哋都睇過都唔定啊，因為咧你哋咧都幾勤力噶嚇，成日都睇呢啲影片，咁啊睇過唔出奇嘅，不過唔緊要，溫故知新啊，亦都希望咧可以整理咗咧，好似咧馬凱碩3部曲咁，一步一步咧話俾大家聽。嗱，當然啦，佢可能裏邊咧講嘅嘢咧係唔會100%你同意晒又唔定，又或者咧佢提嗰個意見咧係你都會思考下，即係透過佢講完之後咧，你會思考下。咁呢啲啊，我覺得咧係好有幫助嘅，因為咧呢啲咧咁資深嘅政治人物咧，佢哋諗嘢個方向係點樣嘅咧？會唔會係好高深莫測嘅咧？又或者根本唔係喎？原來咧佢諗嘅嘢同我哋諗嘅嘢差唔多。咁但係咁佢同我哋有咩分別咧？分別就在於咧，佢嘅手段啊，每一日接觸住嘅人，每一日接觸住嘅事唔同，而且喺國際之間接觸，咁唔多唔少咧，佢俾我哋咧多咗一份咧，就係話佢對外國嘅了解。嗱，可能偏偏咧，尤其是係香港人啊嚇，或者唔好介意，中國內地都係嘅。好多人咧都會透過咧係媒體，又或者咧睇一啲新聞報導，去接觸咧外國。OK， 咁咧就以為自己自以為咧就認識咗外國，咁但係咧高 B 哥咧就即係都係講俾大家聽啦，因為我個工作個原因咧，我經常性咧都有機會接觸到咧東南亞嘅人啦、美國啦、歐洲嘅人啦，咁啊我可以咁樣講就係話，如果你即係淨係以為透過一啲外國嘅節目啊，佢哋嘅戲啊，佢哋嘅電視嗰啲TV series， 即係嗰啲叫做連續劇啊，又或者唔係啊，我自己都好中意咧美國噶，所以我留意美國嘅嘢咧好多噶咁樣。咁但係因為咁樣你自己就以為你知美國咧，咁啊真係好對唔住嚇。就算去到美國咧，真係喺美國住緊嘅網友咧，我諗你100%同意我就話咧，美東同埋美西，即係東岸同西岸唔同嘅城市咧，佢哋嘅人種嘅習慣啊，甚至乎喺文化上面咧，都有輕微嘅差異啊。OK，咁啊，可能美西嘅人嘅習慣同埋美東人嘅習慣本身唔同，喜好又唔同。好啦，咁再加埋複雜少少嘅就話，我呢個州份咧，本來係比較唔係本來嚇，原本支持咗呢個叫做共和黨好多年噶啦，唔多唔少咧，你喺嗰個州份，你喺嗰個城市嗰度生活咧，你會受到咧其他人嘅影響咧，變相咧你咧就係一路輸入緊咧民主黨嘅理念噶。嗱，相反啦，你不嬲都係咧喺呢個共和黨嘅一個州份，頭先唔知係咪撈亂咗。總之頭先講嘅一路都係民主黨啦嚇，我驚我講錯咗。咁啊跟住咧，如果你喺共和黨嘅咧，你就一路受共和黨嘅思想影響。咁所以咧就算咧喺美東同埋美西又唔同，跟住咧唔同嘅政治取向又唔同，再加埋到你本身咧做嗰個工作工種啊，或者係教育程度啊，或者你個社交圈子唔同咧，都會有所諗法唔同嘅。所以咧，就算喺個美國裏邊都有咁多嘅唔同，何況你去到國際之間啦，咁再加埋美西方自以為自己咧已經咧係去到發達國家嘅程度咧，就去教中國咧點樣去做呢個叫做政治體制，咩叫做好，咩叫唔好咧？阿馬凱碩咧同大家講，美西方你哋真係有啲不自量力啊！你哋一個咁年輕嘅國家，你哋一個人口咁少嘅國家，你哋居然咧可以咧，即係相對之下嚇，你哋居然咧可以話俾人哋聽咩叫係啱，咩叫係錯，但係你又唔理解下人哋嗰個國家嗰種歷史啊，嗰個人口啊，所有嘅其他條件。唉，好啦，留翻馬凱碩講啦。
Why I wrote this book has China won? It's for a very simple reason. which is that the West is completely misunderstanding China, to put it very simply and bluntly. And only because the West has got used to 200 years of domination of world history, and the West assumes that 19th century and 20th century are the normal condition of the world, and before that 1800 years was abnormal. I see it the other way. I see the previous 1800 years as the normal condition of the world, where China and India were the number one, number two economies in the world. The last 200 years have been an aberration. All aberrations come to a natural end. So you're seeing perfectly the natural return of China and India, and the rest of Asia, by the way. And the problem that the West has is that it has a very fixed set of lenses, of glasses, that it uses to try to understand China. And of course, the Chinese reality will never, ever become like Western reality. And by the way, the West always looks very big. China is just one country. You add up the total population of the West, North America and Europe, you may get maybe 700, 800 million people. China is 1.4 billion people. And so the failure to understand that China must be understood on its own terms is a fundamental mistake. And also it leads to other fundamental misunderstandings. Now I can mention 4 or 5, but let me just mention one as an example. The assumption of the West was that if China succeeded, it could only succeed by becoming a replica of a Western society. I'm not making this up, okay? If you want proof, as you know, one of the most powerful policy makers in the Biden administration today is Kurt Campbell. Go read his essay in Foreign Affairs. And as Kurt Campbell says in his magazine, the essay in Foreign Affairs, hey, all of us Americans thought, very simply, we'll open up China economically. After we open up China economically, China will open up politically, China will become a liberal democracy, and China and America will live happily ever after. That's a fairy tale. But it's a fairy tale that was believed by serious people. And I can tell you, when future historians look back at this Western assumption that China would become like the West, they'd be very puzzled how a young country like the United States, with less than 1/4 the population of China, only 250 years old, this young republic thought it could transform a 4,000-year civilization with 4 times the population. That was an absurd assumption, but everybody believed it. And what is even more shocking is just the simple failure to understand that after having the oldest continuous civilization in the world, the Chinese have worked out their own political history, their own political traditions, their own political culture. And they know what works for China and what doesn't work for China. And a divided two-party system, in their view, I'm not saying it's my view, doesn't work for China. And in the case of China, the history of China teaches them that when you have strong leadership on top, the people benefit. The bottom 50% benefit. And when you have weak, divided leadership on top, the people suffer. Which is why, incidentally, there's a lot of support for strong leadership in China. And if you want proof, Harvard Kennedy School has come up with a study that shows support for the Chinese Communist Party has gone up from 86% in 2003 to 93% in 2016. Why? The Chinese have had the best 40 years of socio-economic development in 4,000 years of Chinese history. At a time when the Chinese people feel strong and self-confident, the West is asking, why don't you change and become like us? It's a question that seems perfectly natural to the Western mind. It seems absurd. to the Chinese.